What were your thoughts on that? Were you surprised? Did you think, hey, this is a really bold move?
No, I mean, I don't think it was a surprise at all. I think that that's just a credit to um, how much time Mahomes could buy for his players to get open, and then us being able to drop into coverage just gives more guys to take up throwing lanes. So I wouldn't say I was surprised by it. That's just kind of what you got to do with guys like that.
Are we allowed follow-ups? I'm not sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So how have you seen over your 2 years here? How have you seen Lou grow in that regard? To I know you were a little hamstrung by injuries last year, but to come up with adjustments on the fly and kind of his in-game, not just game planning, but his in-game management. How have you seen him grow?
I think it's just a lot of the system. It's just having another year in the system, truthfully, and being able to kind of fall back on what the basis of your defense is. Obviously, having that extra year under our belts, we already know certain coverages and certain schemes that he likes to throw in, and like I've always said, that we have complete faith in him that he's going to put us in our best position to be successful, and that just happened. During the Chiefs game, that's just kind of what we had to do to prevent Mahomes from escaping and making a lot of plays outside the pocket.
X's and O's aside, what do you like about him as a coach?
I think he's a player's coach. He's not always serious, and so there's a side of him that you can joke around with throughout practice, and guys enjoy playing for him. Guys have bought in, and I think that's just kind of been our mantra on defense is he's going to put us in position to be successful. It's just on us whether or not we each do our 1/11th on each play, and I think that's going to credit to our success on defense.
Where does that sense of humor show up? Is it during practice and kind of down moments? Is it when things are tough to lighten the mood? How does that show up from Lou?
Yeah, I mean it's throughout practice, throughout like walkthroughs, maybe meetings, pre-meetings, like just time when it's not the game, when it's time to be completely serious and locked in. You got to be locked in. I mean, during walkthrough and whatnot, but there's a time to just a balance. You can't be serious all the time because then guys start walking around on eggshells, and it doesn't usually work very well.
Thanks, Jay. We'll have the next question from Lance Pugmire.
Hey guys, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Obviously, your credentials are, not being questioned with your appearance in the Super Bowl. But as your unit goes into this game against the Rams defense that has so much star power, is there any kind of like chip on your shoulder that you guys carry about like this is our final opportunity to prove just how good we are?
Yeah, I mean, we're not worried about the Rams defense. That's what our offense is game planning for. We're worried about their offense, and they have a lot of weapons on offense, starting with the quarterback. They got two good running backs, obviously very good receivers, and we're going to have our hands full. Every team at this level is very good, especially when you make it to the Super Bowl. So, we're looking forward to that challenge, but it's going to be a good one.
Where would you say that it clicked for you guys as a unit this season, where you felt like, what, we've got this down, we're working completely in sync now?
I don't. It's hard to pinpoint a specific moment. I think it's just it was just a culmination of when guys came back for OTAs and bought in, and a lot of teams didn't have 100% of their guys show up like we did, and I think that just kind of spoke to the character of the guys in the locker room. That after last season, we wanted to be better, and we knew we could be better, especially with the guys we brought in the draft and free agency, and we were excited about that. So that's kind of where that all started, and then it just carried over into camp, and the more that we were playing with each other, we understood how each guy likes to play, and we just kind of built off of it as the season went along.
Yeah, and speaking to that, I mean, the culture has obviously changed with the Bengals. Was there any point at all where you guys did look up and see that you were like, at one point 200-1 dogs to win the Super Bowl, and again, sort of like embrace that as a rallying cry?
I mean, we only can control what we can control, and that's one thing that we can't. So we didn't really worry about that kind of stuff. We just took it day by day. and just try to get better as not only collectively as a defense, but as a team. And, I think that just speaks to the guys that Coach Taylor and the front offices have brought in, the last couple of years. It's been, we have a lot of selfless guys on the team. They're guys that don't really care about the stats at the end. They all have one goal in mind, that's to get a win. So, when you have a bunch of guys like that, your team success is usually very good.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lance. Again, for all the new media that came in, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and I'll be sure to get to you. Well, the next question from Zambor Parat. Go ahead, Zambor.
Hi, Logan. First of all, congratulations for reaching the Super Bowl. It's been an honor to make you some questions.
Thank you very much.
First of all, you've become from a relatively small college from Wyoming, and it is a little different being the past 2 years because you've been on an ascending team, and how it changed your mental preparation in the playoffs, how different it is to prepare yourself for a game like this, for example, the championship game in the AFC or the Super Bowl like this.
I think you have to prepare for every game the same way. Just because it's a Super Bowl, obviously it's a bigger game, but the way you prepare, you just got to keep everything as close to the same as possible, because when you start to do things out of character, it usually doesn't end up well for yourself. And so that's one thing that we've been trying to do. Our schedules have been very similar. Obviously, we had an extra week to prepare for this game, but for our schedules throughout the day, like we have typical meetings and typical walkthroughs at the same time and whatnot. So it just keeps guys in rhythm and in sync, and that's just kind of how we're going about our business.
And how do you see your role as a team player, as the motor of the defense in your former team, the Cowboys, and the Bengals too?
Like you're saying, what, like compare them both?
Yeah, comparable each to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both very similar. Especially my first year, at the University of Wyoming, I was able to learn under a senior then, my first season, and then I was also able to learn under Josh Bynes last year. And so there's a lot of similarities to my career, how my careers have started at Wyoming and here. And so being able to learn under two guys that have been through it all, it helps you, and you can gain experience that way. And, I think that that's kind of, I've built off of what I've learned from Josh Bynes last year, and just trying to continue to get better each and every day. So.
And how was the preparation the last week when you had to go inside UC's facility because of the rain and the heavy cold shower of snowy rain? How it affected the preparation for the defense?
I mean, I don't think it didn't affect us too much. Besides obviously having to just travel there to practice. It was only about 15 minutes away, and there was just one day where the roads were really bad. I think it was, I want to say, it was Thursday. So it took a little longer to get there to and from, but at the end of the day, it was still a very similar schedule as to what we would have done if we were just staying here. We just had to add some time in to travel to and from.
Thank you, Sambor. We'll have the next question from Laurel Failer.
Thank you. Logan, a lot of you guys on defense have talked about just how so many guys have come from other teams. Some people have described it as, players that had something to prove, maybe not, big star names. What is it about this group that has enabled you guys to rise to the level that you have been playing lately?
I think that we have a lot of similarities. Like you said, I think that one of the big things about our group on defense is no one's afraid to work. Sometimes there's points in like a season, there's ebbs and flows where guys just don't want to work. They don't want to get better because it just gets to that point. It gets so repetitive. But the guys that we have in the locker room, no one's afraid to continue to work and work hard to be the best at their position. And I think that that's just a credit to Coach Taylor in the front office and the guys that they brought in. I think that everyone on this team is very, very selfless. They don't care about individual stats as much as they care about whether or not we get the victory at the end of the day. And I think that that's why we've been having so much team success.
And can I follow up also just in terms of the linebacker group, how have you guys benefited from the improvements on the defensive line this year?
I mean, our defensive line has been great. Sam, DJ, BJ, Larry before he got hurt, Trey. I mean, I could go on and on. I think that, every single game always starts up front on both sides of the ball. And our defensive line has played very, very well this season, and it's allowed not only us as linebackers, but our DBs to play well too. So it definitely shows that it's a team game, team sport.
Thanks, Laurel. We'll have the next questions from Ben Shulman.
Hey, Logan. Thanks so much for taking the time. Ben Shulman, WJPC. What's it been like working with Coach Lou these first two seasons in the NFL? What kind of guy is he?
I think he's a good guy that expects a lot out of us, and I think that he's a player's coach. And a lot of guys, I mean, everyone on the team appreciates him for what he does and how he leads us as a defense, and everyone's bought into his scheme. And I think that that's why our success is what it is. Obviously there's things we can improve each and every week, but we've got good guys in that locker room that buy into his scheme, and he's done a good job coaching us.
And just to follow up, I talked to some of his former players, and they talked about him really connecting with the young guys. That was like 20 years ago, though. Is he still doing a good job of connecting with the young guys these days?
Yeah, he is. I mean, obviously last year was tough because it was just a COVID year, so you couldn't be really close to anyone, and a lot of things were on Zoom and whatnot, so it's kind of hard to maybe have that connection. But this year, I've definitely, my connection with him has grown a lot more, and he trusts me to run the defense, and I appreciate that he's given me that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. We'll have next question from Andrew Fantuccio.
Hey, Logan. Andrew Fantuccio, WRHU. The last two draft classes for this franchise, yours from last year and this year's draft class, have completely revitalized the franchise's fortunes. How has youth impacted your locker room culture, and what dynamics were already in place when you got to Cincinnati that allowed it to do so?
You know, I went through a similar situation when I got to Wyoming. You kind of have to, when you have a new coaching staff, people want results like overnight and things like that. It just doesn't happen. You've got to get the right guys in the locker room. You got to create your culture the way you want it as a coaching staff, and I think that's why, the first 2 years they've had to weed out, so to say, the guys that might not have fit their culture and what they were trying to do. And I think that they had to identify guys through the draft and free agency the past couple of years that they brought in, and everyone's meshed very well in the locker room. Everyone loves each other on this team, and everyone plays for each other on this team, and I think that's why we've made it this far.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Next question will be from Jeff Fadolton.
Hey, Logan. What is Al Golden like as a position coach?
I think he expects a lot from us as linebackers, which in turn I think has produced very good results this season. I feel like the linebacker room has played exceptionally well this season. He expects a lot from us film-wise. He expects a lot from us to run the defense, getting the D-line set. And guys have bought into him and his coaching, and we play hard for him.
Anything in specifically that he's kind of helped you with this year? Some sort of technique or something like that?
I would say just my progression within the scheme in general. Having last year was just such a weird year that we got to learn kind of the X's and O's of the defense via Zoom, but it just doesn't. It's just not the same when actually be able to go in person and learn that kind of stuff. And so this year he's really helped me build off of last year and become more confident in what we're doing as a defense.
And last thing, were you kind of familiar? Had you heard of him? When you joined, were you like, oh wow, this is the former like University of Miami head coach, and he's like my position coach? Was that kind of cool for you, and were you aware of that?
I wasn't really aware of it until I think one of my family members reached out to me and asked, "He's like, wasn't he the coach at Miami a while back?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And I went and checked, and obviously found out that he was. So it was pretty cool.
What family member was that, Logan?
I believe it was my uncle.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll have next question from Mike K. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Logan. Eli Apple is obviously a really outgoing guy. What's he been like as a teammate during this playoff run, and what has he meant to this defense, really coming up with some big plays down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, he's played very well. I think our whole secondary's played very well, and he's a great guy to have in the locker room. He's a jokester, he's funny, and he gets along with pretty much everyone. So he's a guy you definitely like to have on your team because he can get a little chippy on the field, but he's one of those guys that's you're happy when he's on your team.
I know that I cover New Jersey, and Al Golden's from there. He's a former tight end. What type of perspective does he kind of give you on the opposite side, maybe in meetings, if he does?
I mean, he definitely shows us like what an offense might be looking for versus a certain play, or what they're trying to ID, or who their combo blocks are going to be up to. So there's definitely that perspective that maybe a coach that hasn't played or coached on the offensive side of the ball that they wouldn't know as much about.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. We'll take the next question from Charlie Goldsmith.
Hey, Logan. Kind of similar question, but about Mike Hilton. What does he mean to the defense?
Mike's the man. He obviously came from a very historical organization. So him coming in, I didn't really know as much about him last year until he got here, but he's been a great player for us. He's a really good blitzer. Obviously he can cover. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, slot corners, as you would call it, in the game. And I'm very, very happy that I've gotten to know him this year and that he's on our team.
Just to Charlie.
Yeah, one more question for me. What stands out about Matthew Stafford?
I think you want one thing or just like in general? I think there's not a throw he can't make. And obviously the success he's had in year one coming from Detroit, I think just bodes the kind of athlete and quarterback that he is. He's got a lot of weapons around him that make plays for him, but he's a very good quarterback. He's one of the best in the league.
Thanks, Charlie. We'll take the next question from Augustine Epacito. Go ahead, August.
There it is. Hi, Logan. Can you? How you doing? I'm Esposito from Loja in Argentina. My question is about this offense. Is this the Rams offense the best unit you have faced so far this year?
Probably. They've got weapons everywhere. Their offensive line's very good and obviously starts up front. Their quarterback's very good. They have very good running backs. They have a lot of weapons. And so, but I mean, a lot of teams have a lot of weapons. I think this is obviously one of the better offenses in the league. And, we'll have our hands full, but it's going to be a great challenge for us.
All right. Thank you.
Just another reminder, if anyone wants to ask a question, please raise your hand and I'll get to you.
Yeah, just periodically. I think people are coming in and out.
All right, so we'll take another question from Jeff Fiddleton. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks. Hey, Logan, I just wanted to follow up on something I had asked about earlier. I wanted to give other people a chance to talk, but I was talking about Al Golden, and you were saying that story how your uncle was like, "Oh man, is that the former Miami coach?" When did that conversation take place with your uncle?
I want to say that it might have been at the Senior Bowl.
Okay.
It was before I think it was before I got drafted here. It was after I had met with him. I had met with him at the Senior Bowl, I think, if I remember correctly.
And what's he like just as a coach? What's his style like? Is he pretty intense? Is he fiery? Is he laid back?
I think he's both. I think that more so this year than last year. Last year was a little more intense. I think is because we had a lot of young guys in the room, and now we've got all year under our belt, and so he trusts us more. He understands that we understand the system, and so I think it's a balance, which I think is what you need in a coach. You can't be intense all the time. You got to have a balance and have a little fun, joke around a little bit, but it's been good.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Neil Reynolds with Sky Sports NFL UK.
Hi, Logan. Neil Reynolds from Sky Sports in the UK. I wonder if you could tell me about how confident you guys are on the defensive side of the ball. I guess a lot of people talk about Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Maybe tell us a little bit about how you guys feel things have gone through the playoffs.
I think that we've are you talking about just from us as a defensive perspective?
Yeah, just want to shine a light on the defense and, all the turnovers you guys have had, making big plays to kind of secure each of those playoff wins or set up Evan for the field goals. Because there's a lot of attention on Joe and Jamar. How you feel like you guys have done on that side of the ball?
I think we've played really well. Obviously, there's been some times where we didn't play well, but that's just part of this game. And when our back's against the wall, we try to just not let teams score. And I think that's been big. I think in the Raiders game, I think they only scored one touchdown. The rest were field goals. Obviously the second half versus the Chiefs, we take pride in what we do on defense. And, we don't really care if we get any attention and whatnot, because, at the end of the day, we want to get a win. And that just speaks to the guys we have in the locker room.
Could I ask a follow-up just quickly? How much do you work on and preach turnovers? How big have turnovers been for the defense in this playoff series?
Yeah, I mean, we preach it all the time. It's every day. It's how can you affect the ball? Our coach has a saying. It's like it's sacks win downs, but if you get the ball out, it wins games. And obviously, turnovers are huge in the playoffs. And especially in our linebacker room, we harp it all the time. We got to get the ball. It's like a joke, but it's serious, because if you can affect the ball, if you can get the ball back to our offense, I think that we've got plenty of guys on offense that can score. And so the more times that we can get the ball back to them and give them more opportunities, the better off we are as a team.
Great. Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. Next question will come from Eric Wilson.
Sweet last name, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say, Logan, we might be cousins, but hey, brother, good to see you, and thank you so much for doing this. I want to ask you this question. Yourself, Clay Johnson, Marcus Bailey, Keandre Jones, your linebacking core has stood up against Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Patrick Mahomes. Speak to me about this defense and what y'all were able to do to be able to, hold these great quarterbacks and be able to allow Joe to be Joe and get the victory.
I think that the simplest answer I can give you is that we're doing our job, and we're doing it at a high level. That's what we expect in our room. And, we try to go out and make as many plays as we can. Obviously, we have a lot of selfless guys in that room and on our team in general. You're not always going to make the tackle or make the big play, but you got to do your 1/11th on each individual play to help set our team up for success. And, obviously we try as much as we can to get the ball back to our offense, because the more opportunities they have to score, the better off we'll be.
Thanks,
I got a follow-up real quick. Matthew Stafford has been the guy that a lot of people were saying he was done. Then all of a sudden he gets with Sean McVay and comes to the Rams and kind of, resurges his career. Without giving too much away, is there a specific game plan that you guys are going to put in place? Because we know at any moment he can find Cooper Kupp for that big play.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have to game plan for him to start off, obviously, first and foremost. He's the leader of their offense, and everything runs through him. So, and they have weapons everywhere. So especially in a game like this, there's not going to be a bad team playing in the Super Bowl. It's just not how this league works. They have very good players at every position, and we're going to have our hands full on defense. But we believe in our game plan, and it's just up to us to go execute it.
Best of luck on Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Next question will come from Enrique Novello.
Hi, Logan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The first thing is congratulations for being in the Super Bowl.
Thank you.
And I have two quick questions. What is your biggest motivation when you wake up every morning? And if you are preparing in a different way that you did in another game?
I would say my biggest motivation is just to prove my family and friends that prove them right, that have always believed in me throughout the course of my career. I've had some ups and downs, obviously, and I came from a smaller town in Wyoming, and the support that I have is honestly second to none. And I just want to go out there and prove them right for everything they've done for me. And then what was your second question again?
If you're preparing in a different way that you did in another game?
Oh no, we're taking this game. Obviously, it's a huge game, but you got to prepare the same way you have all season long. You can't change up your routine, and that's what we've been trying to do.
Thank you. Good luck the next Sunday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Enrique. Next question comes from Dan Van Landing.
Pretty close. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Congratulations, Logan. You just mentioned that you come from a very small town in Wyoming. When it comes to this team, I live in Cincinnati, and I cover the nation with a lot of smaller communities and bigger communities in the country music field. And it seems like this Sunday will be the day when communities come together and we'll be watching the Super Bowl together. And these players will be visualizing what you're going to get to visualize this coming Sunday. This season has just been great with this team being together. It seems like this team would fight each other. If somebody came after one, the whole team goes. But when it comes to the whole aspect of camaraderie, this team, do you feel that this team is more confident? And what is the fine line between confidence and arrogance when it comes to teaching younger people that are going to be watching the football game this Sunday concerning this team?
That's kind of a loaded question. I think that obviously we're very confident in ourselves as a team. If we weren't confident, we probably wouldn't have made it this far. And then in terms of you said like the fine line between cocky and arrogant. Is that what you said?
Yeah, just, there's going to be a fine line for young players looking at it. What would you tell them? Here's confidence, here's arrogance, this is the difference.
I think that's obviously a tough question, but I think one of the biggest things with like the difference between that would be obviously you're going to be confident in yourself. And football is a chippy game, so there's going to be some smack talking here and there. But I think that arrogance goes to the point of doing something that's going to harm the team. For example, like getting a flag, I think is for doing something that is in your control would be maybe too arrogant because you're harming the team, and that's like a selfish act in a sense. And I think that we don't have guys that are like that.
Thanks, Dan. We'll take the next question from Dennis Wazak with the Associated Press.
Hey, Logan, I just wanted to ask you about Trey Hendrickson and the impact that he's had on your defense. When you look at what he brings, to that pass rush, was he, in your mind, kind of like one of those missing pieces when you brought him, here or, to Cincinnati? Was that like, okay, this guy is going to help us?
I mean, for sure. I think he's been a tremendous pass rusher his whole career, and especially this season for us. And I'm thankful that our front office and coaching staff went out and signed him. Obviously we lost Carl Lawson to free agency, so it was important that we bring in another defensive end that could take that role. And I think that Trey's done a tremendous job all season long.
Thanks, Dennis. We'll take the next question from Noah Lalonde.
Hey, Logan. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Noah Lalonde here with Rise Network. What's your social media consumption like around the playoff time? You guys obviously have a lot of young guys, and there's a lot of fun that goes on and memes and whatnot. Do you consume any of that around playoff time? And if so, does it cut back now that the Super Bowl is nearing and things are kind of amping up?
I think it's just about balance. You know, obviously you don't want to do too much of it, but I think that you don't want to do. If you typically do some social media consumption in some form or fashion, I think it's important to just balance that the right way, because obviously if you get too caught up in the whole week in general, it doesn't. You usually won't perform as well as you could have on Sunday, and I think that. For me personally, I probably won't consume as much social media as I do on maybe a typical week, but I think I'll still do it a little bit because that's just kind of, you know, what we do.
Great. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Noah. And we'll take the last question from Jay Morrison.
Hey, Logan. Thanks again for doing this. This is going to sound reactionary to the Chiefs game because you guys were so good in the second half, but really this goes back 6-7 weeks where you guys have been really good in the second half. What do you think makes this defense a good second half defense?
I think it's just making those second half adjustments, and a lot of times those adjustments are things that we did in the first half that might have just shot ourselves in the foot. And I think that we just learn from them. We just kind of settle down and relax and play our brand of football. And I think that that's why, you know, we've had success in the second half.
Thank you.
Cool. This will conclude our media availability today with Logan Wilson. Thank you for your time, Logan, and good luck in the Super Bowl.
Thank you very much.